The Detroit Pistons play a rough game against the Oklahoma City Thunder and suffered their second loss of the season. Is it time to change everything now after the second loss of the season? We're going to talk about that in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Kuka Hill. You can find me over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode, by the way, is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a $20 off your first purchase. I'm recording this after the Detroit Pistons lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lost this game 124-112, and it was a 12-point loss, but the score makes it even look better for the Pistons because it was looking really bad for a second there. They cut the lead down to 12 with the reserves at the end of the fourth, but OKC pretty much controlled and dominated this game from start to finish against the Detroit Pistons. SGA had a really tough game the night before, so of course he was going to come out with a vengeance. He had 32 points and 47% shooting from the floor. Josh Giddey also had 21 points against the Detroit Pistons, 9 of 18 shooting. Jalen Williams had 19 points of 8 of 14 shooting, and Chet Holmgren had 4 of 5, shot 4 of 5, and had 14 points, 4 blocks, and 2 steals. We'll talk about him in a minute when it comes to the Pistons. But yeah, the Pistons really struggled this game. They couldn't get much going offensively. They actually did shoot 53% from beyond the arc, but they shot 42% from the field, and they just turned the ball over. Actually, 16 times wasn't too bad, turn the ball over, but it was at the points in which they turned the ball over that was really killing them. There was a moment in, I want to say, was it the fourth quarter? I keep thinking it was the fourth quarter. It was the third quarter, in which the Pistons cut the lead down to 10 points. And once the Pistons got the lead down to 10 points off of an alley-oop dunk from Ausar Thompson, Cade Cunningham had back-to-back-to-back turnovers, in which turned into a SGA driving layup, an SGA fadeaway, a Jalen Williams dunk, and then Jalen Williams 2 free throws. So the game went from 60-70 to 60-78. And this specific situation and this specific struggle with Cade Cunningham has sparked a heated discussion that's been going on since the start of the year, as soon as the starting lineup was announced. And it's that, should the Detroit Pistons change their starting lineup now after what happened tonight against the OKC Thunder, and would changing the starting lineup help Cade Cunningham? So, you guys for those of you who've been listening to the podcast all season, first of all, appreciate you guys. And second, you guys probably know where I stand with this. But let me just say, let me go ahead and explain it for those who haven't been listening. Cade is averaging 22, 8, and 3 on 44% shooting, 38% from deep, and 46% on twos, and 88.9% on free throws through the first 3 games of the season. This game against the OKC Thunder, he struggled. But for all the other 3 games, he's been great. He's been sensational to start this season. So do I think that this starting lineup has been holding Cade back offensively? No, I do not. Do I think this starting lineup what I would have chosen before the season? No, you guys know that I would have the one I wanted to go with was Cade, Ivey, Ausar, Bojan, and Duren. Now, and I've said multiple times that Stu so far this season has proven me wrong, and he's played really well, and he should be the starting 4. He's played a big part in how well the Pistons are playing defensively. So I'm not saying that that's the starting lineup they should go to. That's where I was before the season. I think Stu's proven that he should be the starting 4, and he's played pretty well, at least so far to this point. It's only 4 games, incredibly small sample size. I don't want to do anything off of 4 games, really. But if I am going to have to make an assessment off that, yeah, Stu's proven me wrong so far. He deserves to be there. So the conversation really is, should the Detroit Pistons bench Killian Hayes and bring in an Alec Burks or a Jaden Ivey? And where I stand today is no different than where I stood 3 days ago. I'm a Killian Hayes believer. I believe Killian Hayes can be a really good player. Tonight he had 10 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, and 4 of 11 shooting. He has to shoot better from the floor. He brings other things to the table. The other things to the table won't matter as much if he can't shoot efficiently from the floor. And so far this year, he has not been able to shoot efficiently from the floor after having a strong preseason. I hate to see it. It sucks to see. He has to shoot better. However, I am not the one making the starting lineups. And if Monty Williams, this is my stance a few days ago, this was my stance yesterday, this will be my stance today, and it will be my stance tomorrow. If Monty Williams believes that this starting lineup is the vision and the starting lineup he wants to see, and he believes this will be the best starting lineup, maybe not tomorrow, but next week it will be, or a week and a half from now it will be, or 2 weeks from now it will be, then he should stick with his vision. If I'm a head coach and I make a decision on something and I'm like, okay, this is the vision I see. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make this happen right now. 4 games in an 82-game season is not enough for me to change my vision on what I believe is best for the team. 4 games is not a large enough sample size for me to change my vision. Now, if you don't agree with the vision, which I don't think a lot of people do agree with the vision of starting Killian Hayes for that defense, then yes, you're going to be frustrated throughout this time. You're going to be complaining about the starting lineup over and over and over again. But I am not Monty Williams. You are not Monty Williams. And if Monty Williams, again, believes this starting lineup will be the best starting lineup for them in a week, in 2 weeks, and heck, the Pistons started off 2-1, so it couldn't have been doing that bad for them. So, again, would I have started this starting lineup to start the year? No. But Monty has chosen that. So, no, I don't think Monty should be changing his mind about his vision 4 games into a season that sees the Pistons 2-2. And I think another thing, too, that people are kind of like just glossing over, OKC is just really good. And I think, look, the space, having better spacing, having better shooters in those spots would help Cade. It would. I think Cade has done fine nonetheless this year. And I think a lot of the things that Cade has struggled with, like some of the turnovers in this game in that third quarter, those back-to-back-to-back turnovers, I'm not blaming that on spacing. I think that has to do with Cade just being loose with the ball and careless with the ball. However, like I was saying, they went against OKC. And I honestly think the biggest reason why the Detroit Pistons lost this game was lack of spacing part of the reason? Sure. Was the turnovers by Cade part of the reason? Sure. Was Killian Hayes not shooting well from the floor? He shot 4 of 11, 1 of 4 from deep. Was that part of the reason? Sure. Was Ausar Thompson shooting 0 of 2 from deep and 6 of 14 from the field part of the reason? Sure. Was the Pistons not being able to play defense part of the reason? Yes. I think the biggest thing that impacted the Pistons tonight was Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren his mere presence was ruining everything the Pistons wanted to do offensively. He was really causing issues for Jalen Duren, who did not have a good game at all tonight, 8.7 rebounds. Now, it's one game. He'll be fine. He'll come back next game. He'll be amazing. But Chet Holmgren was really bothering Jalen Duren, and he was really bothering Isaiah Stewart, and he was really bothering Cade Cunningham on drives, and he was basically taking away drives from everybody on the floor, whether it was Ausar, Cade, Killian, Jalen Duren, Stu, whoever it was. Chet Holmgren was just wreaking havoc on the floor. So I think the Pistons just ran into a bad matchup. They ran into a good team with the best player on the floor in SGA, and Chet Holmgren really took it to him defensively. That's what I think happened. I don't think that the coaching staff should overreact. I don't think they should panic to anything. Now, again, if the coaching staff wants to go ahead and say, okay, you know what, we're going to make a diversion here. We're going to change pace here, and we're going to go with Alec Burks or a Jaden Ivey in the starting line. We're going to bring Killian Hayes off the bench. Am I saying that would be an awful decision? No, I'm not saying that would be an awful decision. I'm not saying that would be a bad decision. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm saying that if this is your vision and he believes in this, 4 games should not move him off of that vision. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And again, through 3 games, it looked fine. It looked fine. We were a Zach LaVine masterclass away from coming on here and talking about how good the starting lineup had looked, and the numbers would have been backing it up. So again, I don't think they have to change the starting lineup. If they want to, if they want to do spacers in the starting lineup, you want to put Alec Burks in the starting lineup, sure, it would help with the offense. But I don't think this game is going to change how Monty Williams feels. I don't think this game is going to change how Monty Williams thinks and sees this starting lineup moving forward until Monty Williams and Bojan Bogdanovic comes back, I don't think that's going to change anything. I don't think this game is the one that's going to change it. I think he's going to give it more of a sample size, and then he'll make a decision off of that. So, look, I know people are going to keep complaining about the starting lineup. I think you should just deal with it. You're just going to have to deal with it. I wouldn't have started the starting lineup. Many fans wouldn't have started the starting lineup, but this is what Monty wants to do, and it hasn't went terribly for the Pistons. They're 2-2. So hopefully they can continue to win some games. They continue to look as good as they've started, or look as good as they've been to start this season. And hopefully guys develop. Hopefully Ausar makes more threes. Hopefully Killian Hayes makes more threes, and things look better. So, and also, it doesn't matter as much about who starts the game as well. It's more so about how Monty Williams has been staggering the lineups. And I thought he's been doing a really good job of still staggering the lineups and giving Cade spacing in the lineups that he spaces or that he staggers throughout the game. So I really think this is a little bit of an over-talked point. But I understand why fans are frustrated. And I understand why the thought of, hey, with more spacing, this would go better. Heck, I understand that completely. For the last 2 years, I've been sitting here saying that Cade, with 4 shooters, would go crazy offensively. I still believe that. But obviously, this is not what Monty Williams believes. And until, I don't know. I don't know what it would take for Monty Williams to change the starting lineup. I don't necessarily think he has to. I think he's probably going to write out his vision until he absolutely has to change it, which is probably 3 weeks away when Monty comes back. Monty Morris, that is. So that's where I stand with the starting lineup. Is it time to change him? If I'm Monty Williams, I wouldn't, if this is what I believe in. I don't think it's went that terribly, so I would just keep doing the same thing. And I don't think, lastly, I'll say this one more time, this will be it. I don't think just blaming everything on Killian Hayes is why the Pistons lost this game against the OKC Thunder. That's not why the Pistons lost to the OKC Thunder. I know he's the easiest scapegoat out there. He didn't play well. He didn't shoot well. He has to shoot better. I understand all that, but the idea of just scapegoating Killian Hayes is the sole reason why they lost to the OKC Thunder. It's just not, that's not the case. So let me know what you guys think. I know what a lot of people are going to say, change the starting lineup, change the starting lineup, change the starting lineup. I don't necessarily disagree. But if Monty Williams believes that this is just the best starting line for him and this is the vision that he wants to go with defensively, do you think that's it's a bad choice of him to do? That's what I want to hear in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Cougar Hill. When we come back, I want to talk about Cade's turnovers because I think it's probably the weakest point of his game right now, and I just want to talk about it when we come back. So stay tuned for all that. But first, I've got to tell you guys about one of our sponsors, FanDuel Sportsbook. Now, FanDuel, absolutely love it. There's a reason why it's America's #1 sportsbook, and it's why it's the official partner of the NFL. I go on FanDuel all the time. I told you guys before the season how they were big. They were very high on the Detroit Lions. They had them win the division. They were favored to win the division. They were favored to win 10-plus games. It looks like it's going to happen after the Lions going 6-2. And there's all kinds of things you can do over in FanDuel, too. You can't just only bet the futures of each season, whether it's the NFL or NBA. You can bet the spreads of games. You can bet player props. You can bet over-unders, not just on players' receiving yards or players' points per game. You can bet the over-unders on points scored within a game. You can do all that, and you can do a lot more. You can put them all into the same betting slip with FanDuel as well. And right now, customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on that action. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season and kick off the NBA season with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. So I want thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. So far to start this year, we talked about this earlier in the podcast. So far to start this year, Cade Cunningham has been exceptional. 22.3 points, 8.3 assists, 3.0 rebounds, 44, 39, 89 splits. Been fantastic. He's looked like the #1 overall pick. He's looked like the breakout player that we all were expecting to start this season, to go throughout this season. He's looked fantastic. In this game against OKC, though, he did struggle. He had a tough game. 5 of 15 from the floor. He actually shot well from beyond the arc, 3 of 7, which is, I think, even with Cade not having the greatest game tonight, and even with him turning the ball over a ton tonight, which we're about to talk about, the fact that he continues to shoot well from beyond the arc and not just catch and shoot threes, but also pull-up threes, all that happening from outside, from beyond the arc, that should be, the biggest takeaway, because that has been that was the biggest thing everyone was watching for after his first 2 seasons is, hey, is that outside shot going to go back to what it was at Oklahoma? Is that going to be, because that was the biggest thing about him, is that he's 6'6", 6'7", play makes, can get to the rim, plays defense, but also he can hit pull-up threes and bring the defense out. And through 2 years, now, he didn't really play last year, but he hadn't been able to do that. And so far this year, it looks like that shot is back after the surgery to his shin. He has a lot more lift on his jumper. Looks a lot better. So even with what we're about to talk about with the turnovers, my biggest takeaway from Cade so far through 4 games is the three-point shot is real. And if it is, good luck NBA trying to guard him, because then he's just going to keep getting better and better in every other aspect. And if you have to guard him at the three-point line, you can't just go under screens every single time. It may not happen this year, but in the future, the Pistons are going to be a pretty damn good team because of that. So that's the first thing I just want to bring up. But he had 7 turnovers tonight. And so far this season, before this game, he was averaging 4.7 turnovers a game. Last year, in those 12 games, he was averaging 3.3 turnovers a game. The season before, his rookie year, he averaged 3.7 turnovers a game. And after talking with some people who watched him in college, they said that was something he struggled with in college as well, turnovers. In 27 games in college, and he averaged, or not averaged, he had 109 total turnovers. So this is something that Cade has struggled with going back to his college career. He has turned the ball over a lot. Now, this is why I believe, if you are a high-usage player in the NBA, you are going to turn the ball over a lot. And Cade, I just saw this on Twitter earlier today, I believe he's 6th in the NBA in most touches throughout the league. So he's touching the ball a ton. The Pistons are running everything through him, which I love. You should be running everything through your best player. Maybe not everything, but you should be running a lot of your stuff through your best player on offense. Not complaining about that. But he's touching the ball a lot. And most players, almost all players, unless you're like CP3, who's one of the best point guards ever and one of the best caretakers of the ball of all time, you're going to turn the ball over. You look at any player that has a high usage, they're just going to turn the ball over a ton. Like, look at Luka Doncic so far through his career. 3.4 turnovers, 4.3, 4.3, 4.5, 3.6. Like, you're just going to, that's just what happens. And you can even go, let's go to look at LeBron James. You go and look at LeBron James, who has the ball in his hands all the time. No one says that LeBron James is a crazy turnover machine or complains about it, but throughout his career, he's averaged 3.5 turnovers a game. This year, he's at 4.3. He's had 4.2, 4.1. He's been consistently a 3.5 turnover per game guy. But no one complains about it because he brings all the other stuff to the game, obviously. My point being is that if you have a high usage rate, what comes with that are turnovers. You're going to turn the ball over a lot. However, some of Cade's turnovers are unforced, and he does turn the ball over a little bit too much for a guy who only plays 33 minutes a game so far. And at the timing of his turnover sometimes is what can be the most concerning about it. So, for example, in the third quarter when I talked about those 3 turnovers that he had back to back to back, I don't blame those 3 turnovers on spacing. I think those 3 turnovers happened because he was this doesn't explain each one, but he was either carelessness, bad decision making, or being just loose with the ball. One of those for all 3 of them. And I think that is somewhere where Cade has to improve on. I think Cade has to tighten up his handle. I don't think he has a bad handle at all. Not saying that at all. But I do think his handle is a little loose at times, and he loses control of the ball sometimes. He got called for a carrying in that game as well, which I know carries is something that you can argue about every day with the NBA about what is a carry and what isn't. When they decide to just call something that's a carry, they kind of pick and choose with that. But nonetheless, I do think that Cade can improve with his handle 100%, and can tighten it up, and he can get better in that aspect. I also think he needs to make better decisions at times with the ball in his hands. Now, the counter argument that's been thrown at me is spacing. If he had better spacing, it would help. If he had better shooters in these spots, it would help him. Would it help him? Yes, it would. It would help him. But I don't think that's the easy excuse for him to turn the ball over. He's turned the ball over like this since college. And this is not me ragging on Cade. You guys know I think Cade's going to be awesome. I think he can be a top 10 player in the league. I think his ceiling is like an MVP type player. I love Cade. But this is one of the areas he has to improve on. So do I think spacing would help? Yes. The idea with having spacing, which is something I've told you guys for a long time, is that guys wouldn't play as aggressive at the nail on help defense. They wouldn't want to trap him as much. Now, maybe they would still trap him to get the ball out of his hands, but you would hope that wouldn't happen as much, and driving lanes would be more wide open for him. Not denying any of that. If they had better spacing, all those things would help him still. Do I still think he probably would be turning the ball over a little bit more than you'd want with that? Yeah, because he's turned the ball over a lot since college. And as I said, not all of his turnovers are just based off of spacing concerns. Like, for example, when people have said the whole spacing thing, if he had spacing, he just wouldn't turn the ball over. That's just not true. There was 3 specific plays that I wish I could play on the podcast, but 2 of them happened in the third quarter. 1 of them happened in the second quarter, where on one occasion he had Marcus Sasser on the right wing, and the OKC defender that was guarding Sasser was playing extremely aggressive at the nail. And instead of Cade taking that one dribble and then kicking it out to Marcus Sasser, he drove the lane and tried to take a contested midi and missed it. Now, that wasn't a turnover, but that just kind of highlights that, hey, Marcus Sasser's a good shooter, but OKC still was playing aggressive off of Marcus Sasser, and Cade didn't make him pay for that. The same kind of thing happened with Jaden Ivey twice on the left wing and once on the right wing. Same thing happened with those guys. So, again, do I think spacing would help him? Yes, but I don't think these things are mutually exclusive. Yes, would spacing help him some? Sure. Does Cade still need to be making better decisions with the ball? Yes. Does he need to tighten up his handle? Yes. Does he need to trust his teammates a little bit more from beyond the arc? Yes. All those things can be true. And and this is the main point I want to make too, is that even if Cade had better spacing doesn't make the decision for him. He still needs to make that decision to pass out to his open teammate beyond the arc. So I think the spacing argument helps more with his, I think it would help more with him being able to score more, help him get to the rim more, help him get easier shots off. Because I saw numerous times, and this is not something he does all the time. I'm just simply talking about this OKC game. There was numerous times in this OKC game when he had a good shooter open, and he just didn't pass it to them tonight. And he tried to either force it to Jalen Duren on the roll, which was a turnover, because of Chet was just, like I said earlier, was just wrecking havoc all over the place. Or 2, he made a split-second late decision, or was just a little careless with the ball. So I think Cade can be helped by his team, but Cade also needs to be helping himself. He needs to tighten up that handle. He needs to make better decisions. I think both of those things can go together. I think both of those things are what's going on with Cade so far. But it's just one game. He had been playing spectacular to this point. He went against an OKC team that's really good, has a really good defender in Chet that makes things really tough on guys that want to get to the rim and the pick and roll. These games happen. It's an 82-game season. Cade's going to have bad games. It's going to happen. Not overreacting to it, not freaking out over it. This kind of stuff happens. So let me know what you guys think about Cade's turnovers. Do you guys think it's a concern? Do you think it's a whole bunch of nothing? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, I want to talk about Ausar Thompson's start to the season for the Detroit Pistons. Has he lived up to the hype? Has he fallen short so far through 4 games? I want to talk about that when we come back. But first, let me tell you guys about one of our sponsors, Gametime. So if you're anything like me, and look, I don't take pride in saying this, but I procrastinate a lot. I will know that I want to do something, and I'll just wait till the last second to do it. I know that, I have a job to do or something to do, like even with the podcast. Like right now, I'm recording at 12 o'clock. I could have recorded earlier, but I procrastinate a little bit. And the same thing happens when I'm looking for tickets to buy to sporting events, some theater, movie theaters, like anything that involves me having to buy a ticket beforehand, I procrastinate. And it usually bites me that, where. Because I can't get tickets now because the last-minute tickets aren't available in most places. Well, with Gametime, last-minute tickets are always available, and it's why Gametime is my favorite place to go for getting tickets. Along with being able to get last-minute tickets and flash deals, you also get to see the view from your seat before you buy it, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal without the hidden fees. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps just like that. Another thing I struggle with tickets, also had to go through my email, can't find it. Don't have to worry about that with Gametime. It's right there on your phone. It's going to be showing up right there. You don't got to search through your emails to find it. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed with Gametime. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons, hit that subscribe button, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Ausar Thompson is 4 games into his rookie season. And all of you guys know that Ausar Thompson was somebody that I was very, very, very high on heading into the NBA draft. I was ecstatic that the Detroit Pistons drafted him. And 4 games into his career, I think he's lived up to the hype and maybe even surpassed the hype. I think he's surpassed it. And this is despite him shooting 26% from the field and 20% from deep. Now, no one likes to talk about that when they talk about offense. They only want to talk about someone else, but I'll leave that alone. Despite him shooting that, I don't care. I think he's went past the hype. He's lived up to it. He's been great for the Pistons so far, and here's why. I think there's a legitimate argument you can make that through 4 games in the NBA so far. Now, it's an incredibly small sample size, and what do you guys know about me? I do not like small sample sizes. I don't want to overreact to small sample sizes. I don't like it. But through 4 games into his NBA career, you could make a legitimate argument that Ausar is already a top 10 defender in the NBA. He is, before the year, we talked about how most rookies are not good defensively, but the Pistons seem to have been betting that Ausar would be, and that off the film we got from Summer League and the stuff that we got to watch in the Rico Hines footage, that, hey, he looks like he might actually be one of those rare rookies that are actually good immediately into the NBA. But you have to see that happen because most rookies aren't. It's hard to do that. He's proven it. If anything else, through 4 games, maybe some of the other stuff drops off. Hey, maybe he doesn't average 10.7 rebounds for the rest of the year. Okay, maybe he doesn't average 4.7 assists for the rest of the year. I'll tell you this much. He's going to be this caliber of a defender in game 4, game 20, game 40, game 82, game 61, game 78. He's going to be the same caliber of defender on whatever game you're playing. And that kind of caliber of a defender is one of the best defenders I've watched in the NBA so far this year. He is absolutely clamping down on whoever's guarding him. Now, Zach LaVine had a crazy night the other night. Ausar in the fourth quarter suffocated him. He just suffocated him in the fourth quarter. Now, throughout the games, through the first 3 quarters, Zach LaVine got him a few times, but I think he was still playing good defense on it. Zach LaVine was just on a burner. Again, tonight, I thought he did a fantastic job on SGA when he got him. I thought he was doing a fantastic job. So much so, I thought he was doing such a good job on SGA. OKC clearly agreed with him because even when the Pistons played their defensive lineup, SGA was like, I don't want to go against this dude. I don't want to go against Ausar. Give me Killian Hayes. Let me go after Killian Hayes. And Killian Hayes is a good defender. Killian Hayes, I thought, played good defense on SGA too. But Ausar already, through 4 games, even when you have other good defenders on the floor, you have teams already saying, yeah, there's some other good defenders, but that dude's different. Let me stay away from him. I'll go get a different good defender to deal with. I ain't trying to go up against him. So that defensive impact already is, there's no way that I believe even the Pistons believe he could have been that impactful defensively as a rookie, to where SGA is saying, no, I just don't want that matchup. I don't want it. I'm staying away from it. Get him off of me. I want someone else. I don't think anyone could have seen that coming. He's averaging 2.3 blocks, twos. He might be the best blocking wing, the best non-blocking big man in the NBA already. Like, already on, what is this, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody, by the way. But he might be the best non-blocking big in the NBA already. Like, does he need to improve from the floor shooting-wise? Obviously. You can't have a dude shooting 26% from the floor. Like, you just can't have that. You can't have someone shooting 20% from 3. You can't have that. That kind of stuff tanks your offense. You can't have that happening. I don't expect him to be hovering around 26% from the floor. And he does kind of have that Andre Drummond problem where a lot of his misses are from him just trying to tap a ball back into the rim. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he is struggling to score offensively. And that's something he's going to have to improve on. And I think even in this game against OKC, he started off 0 of 6 from the floor, but then he finished 6 of 8 from the floor. So I think not only is he trying to get accustomed to the NBA level offensively, and he needs to improve, I think his teammates also are getting accustomed to him as well, because tonight they threw 2 lobs to him. Cade threw him one, Killian Hayes threw him another one. And I feel like they kind of have been missing him on a lot of alley-oops to start the year as well in all the other games. He could easily just get an easy 8 points just off backdoor cuts or alley-oops, because that's how crazy of an athlete he is. So I think his teammates are getting adjusted to him. He obviously has to improve offensively and adjust to that. Again, 20% from the field, it's just not that's not sustainable. You can't do that. I don't think that's going to last. I think he could be hovering around 39%. I think that probably is going to happen. But I think you might just live with that because of how crazy of a defender he already is, how good of a rebounder he is, he has size, and how good of a secondary playmaker and transition playmaker he is. The dude's averaging 4.7 assists. Anytime he gets the defensive rebound, I think the ball's going down the court immediately. He reminds me of Lonzo Ball. When you watch him, Lonzo was just a threat. As soon as he got the ball in transition, to just whip a pass down the floor and get easy buckets over and over. That's exactly how Ausar is off of defensive rebounds in transition. And then even in the half court, he's their best entry passer. The Pistons love running these quick seal post-ups for Stu or quick seal post-ups for Duren when they get a switch on him in a pick and roll. And they kind of, Cade will see it. He'll swing it over to the Ausar Thompson, who, if you play basketball, I'm going to try to explain this the best as possible. If you get a switch in the pick and roll like that and the big's on the guard, it's hard for them to get that pass over. So if you immediately make that whip pass to the wing, if the wing pass just touch passes that to the big man down low, it should be a bucket every time. But it takes not only does it take the guard reading that and hoping that the guy on the wing reads it, it also takes, again, the guy on the wing reading that and making that quick decision as well, understanding this is why Cade's giving me the ball because he sees this angle right here. And Ausar's making that read over and over again. So there's so many things Ausar is bringing to the table. He has to improve as scoring. He has to be better efficiency-wise. But defensively, he's been absolutely absurd. And everything else he does as well with the rebounding and secondary playmaking, I think he's been worth it. I think he's already shown fans what his value is and why he was the number 5 overall pick. And if he can get that scoring to come around, and with that athleticism, he should be at least able to get to the rim and draw free throws. I think that's going to be a guarantee in his career. The Pistons might have a star in their hands. So that's where I stand with the Stars so far through 4 games. How do you guys feel about Ausar Thompson through 4 games of his NBA career? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe. Until next time, go Pistons, and peace out.